You know, I hate playing the what if game, but I'm going to do it anyways. What if Mitchell Trubisky never got benched this season? What if? How many games would the Chicago Bears have won at this point? What is going on, y'all? Faiz Sports Talk back at it with another video talking, of course, some NFL here to talk about the Chicago Bears. And if you're a Bears fan and you're new to the channel, make sure to go ahead and subscribe, guys, because I do bring you guys the latest and greatest and best Bears content around. And you're going to want to turn on the post notifications so you're notified every time I drop a new video. And make sure you are following me on all social media platforms. Links, as always, down below and on the screen. So, you see the question that I'm presenting to you, right? What if I take you back earlier in the season and have Mitch remain the starter and not bring in Nick Foles? What would the Bears' record be right now? Where would they be right now? Let's talk about it. So the Chicago Bears are 6-7, coming off a blowout victory against the Houston Texans, and they are clicking on offense finally. The offense just feels totally different now with Mitchell Trubisky at the helm versus Nick Foles, where the offense looked awful during a stretch of games. And folks, if it wasn't clear before, it's clear now. Mitchell Trubisky is the better quarterback for this offense. There is no doubt about it. I said this in my other video. I'll say it again. If you still think Nick Foles is a better quarterback, fine. I won't argue with you, but I will say this. He may be a better quarterback overall. If you think so, I disagree. But even if you do, he's not a better quarterback for this offense. And for what the Bears do, Mitchell Trubisky is the answer. You just have to look at the numbers. You just have to look at the production, the stats, folks. The Bears are putting up 30 points. Right? We're moving the football. The offense just looks a lot better. The offensive line plays better. The run game, everything. All right? So it's clear as day that Mitch is better than Nick Foles for this offense. So let's play the what-if game and take you back to week 3. And let's pretend the benching never happens. Because we all know Mitchell Trubisky got benched against the Atlanta Falcons in week 3. And at the time when the benching happened, I came on here after the show and I said, listen, I don't agree with the benching. I think he got pulled too early. It was after an interception, literally one interception, and he got pulled. And I said, I don't agree with it. But I did say Mitchell Trubisky was on such a short leash this season that he shouldn't have even made it a decision for Matt Nagy. And so it was unfortunate how things happened. But ultimately, the Bears ended up winning that game versus the Falcons, if you guys remember that. So nobody really, faulted Matt Nagy for it because they won against the Falcons. So let's take you back to that game. And I'm going to take you to that exact play when this benching happened, right? It was against the Atlanta Falcons at the start of the second half, about 11 minutes and 2 seconds in the second half, and Mitchell Trubisky throws a interception. It was a pretty boneheaded pick. Threw it right to the DB, and he got pulled. That was the hook right there, okay? Bad throw from Mitch, no doubt about it. All right? The Bears, at that point, were losing 23-10. And we know Nick Foles came in, and they pulled off a comeback, and that's all she wrote. But I'll tell you this much. If Mitch stayed in that game, and up until that point, he was 13 for 22, 128 yards passing, 1 TD, 1 interception. Not awful, nothing obviously to write home about, but not the worst game. If he had stayed in, I still think there's a chance he could have pulled it out. I mean, it is the Atlanta Falcons, are one of the worst defenses in the NFL. So he could have done it. There was enough time. It's not like it was 5 minutes left in the fourth or something like that. So there was enough time. It was the beginning of the second half. So again, I don't want to take credit away from Nick Foles because he did pull out that victory. But I believe Mitchell Trubisky may have been able to do that as well if he was given the opportunity. But let's say, for argument's sake, fine, Mitch doesn't get benched that game and we lose. Let's just say we lose, right? I don't want to take it away. So let's say we lose that game. So now the Bears, who had started off 2-0, would be 2-1, right? Instead of 3-0. So we're playing what if Mitch starts game. 2-1 now through 3 games. Next game against the Colts. They lost 19-11. Colts, to me, are one of the best teams in the NFL in terms of, all sides of the football. They've got a great offensive line, great coaching staff. I know people, think Philip Rivers is washed, but he can still move the football and their defense is legit. So I still think we lose that game. We lost it with Nick Foles. I think we lose that with Mitchell Trubisky. Though there's a chance we could win, but I'm going to write that as a loss. So now the Bears are 2-2. All right, then you go up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was the primetime game that the Bears won, that I felt this victory legitimized them, but it was a very close one, 20-19, right? So here's my thing. Nick Foles, I went back and looked at the numbers. 243 yards, 30 for 42, 1 TD, 1 pick. Nothing impressive. Again, nothing to write home about. Could Mitch have done that? Yes, right? So our defense really won that game for us because, remember, we made it very difficult for Tom Brady. All right, it's not like we put up 30 points here. It was 20 points. So I would say we could still win this game if Mitch was the quarterback. If you want to throw this game out, sure, but I still think we could win. So I'm going to say that's a dub. All right, so now we're 3-2, okay? Then it was against the Panthers, and the Bears won with Nick Foles. I think they would have won again with Mitchell Trubisky. Panthers are not a great team. They're not a very good defense as well, so I think that's a victory for the Bears. So that's 4-2 for the Bears. Then you got the Rams, that awful putrid game against the Rams in which the Bears lost 24-10. This was like when the offense looked like it was running in quicksand. It was molasses slow. It was bad. It was like being stuck in mud. That's how bad and slow that offense was. And the Rams are legit, folks. They are, if not a top 2, top 3, they are up there in terms of the best defenses in the NFL. They could be the best defense in the NFL, so I will not take anything away from the Rams. Mitch would have maybe put up a better fight, but I still think we lose this game. So that's 4-3 now, all right? Then you got the Saints game, and I'm going to talk about these two games in the same time with the Saints and the Titans. The Saints game, the Titans game. We lost the Saints game 26-23, and then we lost the Titans game 24-17. So a 3-point loss and a 1-score loss, right? I believe with Mitchell Trubisky at quarterback, we would have won one of these games. I'm not saying which one. Maybe the Titans won if you put a gun in my head. But one of these games, we win. Our offense was atrocious in these games. And if Mitchell Trubisky was the quarterback, I believe we would have won one of these games. All right, so we would be 4-2. So let me count that. And then after winning, so here we go, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, 4-2, 4-3. So let's say you win against the Titans and you lose to the Saints. So that's 4-4, 5-4. All right, you're 5-4 now. And then you had the Vikings game. All right, the Vikings game, which we lost. This was the one that was unacceptable. If we even had any sense of a competent offense and we were able to move the football, we win this game. Easy. This one is a lock. Like, you can't convince me otherwise that if Mitchell Trubisky is not the quarterback, we don't win this game. Absolutely we do. All right? So that one, we lost 19-13. We would have won. So that one would be a victory. So right there. And then after that, we had the Packers loss. And then that's when Mitch was a starter, though, so I have to count that against him. So essentially, if you're giving Mitch the loss versus the Falcons, and if you're giving Mitch a victory against either the Titans or the Saints, that's 2 wins, actually loss against the Falcons, a win against the Saints or Titans, and a win against the Vikings. That's 2 wins, okay, and a loss. All right, so keep that in mind. 2 wins and a loss. That would bring you, at this point, counting the Packers loss, the Lions loss, and then the Texans dub, that would bring you to a grand total of 7-6. Okay? 7-6 is what the Bears' record would be right now if Mitchell Trubisky, I believe, had been the starter all year long. And I think that's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario, if you give him the Falcons win, if you give him the Titans win, and if you give him the Vikings win, now that's 3 victories, 8-5. 8-5. So you see right now, folks, that there is a very realistic chance that benching Mitchell Trubisky cost us 1 to potentially 3 games because of how inept the offense looked with Nick Foles. Again, I'm not saying Mitchell Trubisky is a great quarterback, but all I am saying is the NFL, 99% of quarterbacks, they need a system to succeed in. There's only, one Patrick Mahomes, one Aaron Rodgers, one Russell Wilson. So the rest of the guys, they need a system around them. And Nick Foles was not the right fit for the system. It was not the right fit for this offensive line. He was just not the right fit. Mitchell Trubisky is the better fit for this offense, and I believe we would be better record-wise right now if he had been the starter all year long. And that may be why Matt Nagy could no longer be the head coach of the Chicago Bears, because, again, this may have been a mistake, and he may have pulled the hook too quickly. Again, we still got some games left. We'll see what happens, but that's where I'm at, folks. So hopefully that helps you guys see what the Bears' case would have been if Mitch was the starter. Do you guys agree with me or not that if Mitch was the starter, worst case we go 7-6, best case 8-5? Let me know down below in the comments if you agree or disagree. As always, thanks for watching.